Good morning. Over the past week, there's been more coverage of churches and their response to the coronavirus over Easter. It's unprecedented because we often struggle to get coverage. Well, positive coverage. But I've heard so many people online and on the television and on the radio talking about their personal account of Easter and why it is significant for them as a follower of Jesus, and their confidence about where that comes from and the fact it's around what happened at Easter. From today's reading in the lectionary, which is Luke 24, picks up from yesterday's story that Arwen was talking about, which is the story of the disciples going to Emmaus. And these disciples arrived back in Jerusalem, and they were there to share their experience of the risen Jesus with their friends. They also heard that Simon Peter had also had Jesus appear to him. But suddenly Jesus himself was amongst them. The doors were locked, which actually gave an indication that his presence was of a different kind now. He then, in the passage, wishes them peace. In the ordinary greeting, it would be shalom. But this is something special, because it's the Easter context of shalom. Peace be with you. And my peace that I give you, he says in John's account of this passage. This peace is the peace of the risen Jesus, which has got the full meaning of what peace is always about. Peace of God with man. A blessing that only can come from the risen Jesus. In spite of what they heard, they were still terrified. You would be, wouldn't you? They thought they were still seeing a ghost. What are you frightened of, he says, and he shows them his hands and his feet, and he says, look. And they invite him to come and touch, and then he eats something to turn their fears. And they were turned into joy. They can't believe their eyes. He is not some disembodied soul or ghost. He is Jesus alive. And then he says this. He says to them, these are my words that I've spoken to you while I was still with you. That everything written about me in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms will be fulfilled. Then he opened their minds to understand the scriptures. And he said to them, it is written that the Messiah is to suffer and to rise from death on the third day, and that repentance and forgiveness of their sins is to be proclaimed in his name to all nations, beginning from Jerusalem. And you are my witnesses to these things. Out of Jesus' suffering and death and resurrection comes a mission to proclaim that we are reconciled with God through Jesus. So we have the whole world comes to know, to love and to follow God. We are witnesses to these things. It was their mission to carry this on. The kingdom is growing. And when the kingdom grows, more people come to know, to love and to follow Jesus, which brings about the peace that Jesus gave to his disciples. A deep reconciliation with each person and God. And all divisions fall away, and what is replaced is caring and love for each other. Never more than today do we need this peace that Jesus offers. Fear stalks our land in the form of a virus, which has led people to see despair this Easter. But we are his church. We are the bride of Christ, and we need to be witnesses to these things, to remember them and to celebrate them this Easter. We offer a true and lasting peace that can only come from knowing the man on the cross. We need to speak about this. We need to demonstrate it. We need to live it. We need to be the bringers of peace in the world that we live in. This peace only comes from Jesus. This peace I give you, he says, and we are to be his witnesses throughout the world. Amen.